going to jump right in because we have a packed agenda for 1 hour today. So I'm Paitra Sultan with Thrive, the Alliance of Nonprofits for San Mateo County. I think you guys all know that by now. And today we're going to be talking about building the pipeline for out-of-school time staff and teachers. And we're going to have a quick presentation from the county about the funding that we were talking about earlier for summer enrichment. And then after that, we're going to be doing Paitra Houts from Stanford is going to be doing an exercise. We're going to be working together on different ideas for building the pipeline. So before that, I want to tell you a little bit about some exciting stuff that's happening at Thrive. So tomorrow afternoon, we're going to be talking about legislative opportunities, environment, and sustainability. And actually, State Senator Josh Becker is going to be our special guest, along with other organizations that are working on legislation specifically in the environment and sustainability area. Next. Thrive is hosting one of the events on the Women's Leadership Conference, which is hosted by the county. We're doing one on how to run for office. We have 3 fantastic women leaders that we're going to be interviewing who have decided to run for office, who are now city council and school board. Next slide. Thrive Resource Room is a new thing that Kirsten, who's on the call, has been running. It's an opportunity for people to learn, first of all, what all of the benefits for Thrive of being a Thrive member are, because I don't think everyone knows all of the many, many things that we offer. And in addition, each time we have different organizations that offer either free or special services specifically to nonprofits. Next time, one of these meetings are monthly, and next time we're going to have, among others, Rebuilding Together is going to come and actually talk about the fact that if you are a nonprofit, they will come and do anything from help you rebuild your building to plant a new garden. Next, Thrive is co-hosting at the beginning of April a candidate summit just specifically focused on environment. Next slide. And we are also doing a whole series of candidate forums, the very last of which is going to be for sheriff. But we also will be doing the one for Jackie Sphere's seat, one for Kevin Mullen's seat, for both districts, for county clerk assessor, and again for sheriff. Next slide. Okay, can you take down the slides, Kirsten? So I do want to make a special announcement with Marnie. Actually, Marnie, do you want to take it from here? Thrive is partnering with Silicon Valley Community Foundation. Go ahead.
Sure, thanks. Hi, everybody. We are sponsoring with Thrive. We're thrilled to be co-sponsoring with them through the Choose Children initiative. It's Choose Children 2022 initiative through Silicon Valley Community Foundation. And this is my 3rd or 4th meeting. I think I've mentioned it on my former, my meetings I've been on, but I'm really excited to be on this project. We focus on elevating the issues of the 0 to 5 year range of early childhood learning and development with elected officials in both San Mateo County and Santa Clara counties. So for purposes of San Mateo County, we're excited to be doing a joint candidate forum with District 2 and District 3 candidates. There are now 7 candidates for supervisor, for county supervisor. So we'll be doing that in late April. The date is almost set. We just have to make sure everybody can be there as much as possible for the candidates. And yep, so we'll be doing that with Thrive, Silicon Valley Community Foundation, and the Choose Children initiative as sponsors, and focusing on children and families, particularly early childhood issues. So we'll look forward to seeing you there and hope for participation. And we'll have more on that soon. Thank you, Petra.
So, and we will be doing this group that will be coming up with a couple of the questions for that candidate forum. So there'll be more on that before the candidate forum, which hopefully is at the end of April. Not easy to pin down all of the politicians when you're trying to get a date. So thank you, Marnie, for your partnership on that. And with that, I'd like to introduce Ellie Dahlman and Peggy Jensen to talk about the county's summer enrichment grants.
Thank you
Great.
very much, Petra. We are pleased to be back here today to give you an update. And I would like to turn it over to Ellie Dahlman, who has been a key member of our Summer Enrichment Grant team, also our recovery team, and she'll provide the update for you. Ellie, are you going to be sharing your screen?
Yes, there we go. Thank you. Let me just pull it up here. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for making time on your agenda to hear a little bit about the county's Summer 2022 Enrichment Grant Program. So as you may recall, back in January of this year, we shared with you a preliminary plan for ARPA funded children initiatives. And on this next slide here, since that time, the Board of Supervisors approved an allocation of $10 million in ARPA funding from the first installment of the funds that the county received just about a month ago. And this $10 million allocation included $4.6 million in investments for children and families, which is shown here on this slide. For the first item on this list, we're really excited to share that just last week, the Board of Supervisors approved an agreement with the 4Cs to be able to provide 87 additional family child care provider grants in the amount of $10,000 each. Those are expected to be in providers' hands by next month. And the county grants team has also been busy at work implementing the second item on this list, which is the Summer 2022 Enrichment Program, which will be providing just over $3 million in grant funding to support summer learning programs throughout San Mateo County. And that will be the focus of our presentation today. And lastly, the Big Lift will also receive additional funding from ARPA to allow them to expand their 2022 summer programming as well. And the goals of the just over $3 million that was dedicated to the Summer Enrichment Grant Program include those listed here: expanding access for students who are low income and vulnerable in our county, supporting social emotional well-being of students to help mitigate the setbacks and hardships associated with COVID-19, and also to provide opportunities for students to re-inspire and propel their learning to counterbalance the learning loss that many experienced during the pandemic with distance learning. And we are excited to share that we received 81 applications for this grant funding in over $7 million of funding requests. The three application priorities that we identified was serving priority populations, expanding access and offering comprehensive programming, and the grant funding available was distributed based on the percent of SED students or socioeconomically disadvantaged students in each area of the county: north, central, south, and coast side. And for the application screening and review process, which we're currently moving through as we speak, we first confirmed that each applicant met the program eligibility criteria, which means it's located in San Mateo County, that they provide summer enrichment programs that span at least 4 weeks for at least 4 hours of programming each day, to name a couple of them. We then reviewed each application, scoring them based on the 3 priority areas, which are shown here. And then we presented that information to our grant panel review committee during a couple meetings to identify the applications that would be funded. And at this point, we have notified the selected preliminarily eligible grantees and have asked that they return a W-9 and attestation form to us, along with some response to a few survey questions, just to clarify what they'll be using the funding for. And so that's sort of where we are. We've been moving very quickly because we know summer is upon us. And so we're doing everything that we can to make sure that we get this grant funding out to the providers so that they have time to plan and actually implement the programming this summer. And next steps include distributing funding to grantees. also establishing an evaluation process. And we've also been in conversation with the Silicon Valley Community Foundation around potential program assessment to see, how this grant funding, what impact it has to help inform, potential future investments. And Peggy, I don't know if there's anything else that you'd like to add.
No, thank you, Ellie. That was a very comprehensive review. Ellie and I would be happy to answer any questions that anybody may have. So I don't see any hands raised. I will turn it back to you, Paitra. Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming and keeping us informed and for helping make this happen. That's a lot of money that's going to help a lot of children. So we really appreciate it. And with that, I'm going to turn the rest of the program over to Paitra, who not only is a terrific resource from her position at Stanford, but is also a Thrive board member. So we always appreciate her participation.
Hi, everyone. Thank you. I just had to make sure I was unmuted there. So grateful to be here and be participating over the last couple of years and getting to know all of you. So I thought I would build off of a little bit of what Ruby did and share just a little bit about who I am. Kirsten, do you want to share that or should I? Thank you. So I just want to give a quick intro of myself and kind of where I've come from and who I am to kick us off. And then we're going to go into a short meditative practice just to ground us into this work. And then we are going to do some interactive kind of conversations as we move forward. So really at the center of kind of my roles, my pathway here to where I'm at today has really been about building relationships and partnerships in education. That's where kind of my heart has been, and that has been greatly inspired by my mom, who's here in the kind of upper right-hand corner with me, who is a former teacher, vice principal and principal down in Santa Cruz, and has really been involved in equity-related work at the high school level. Next to us is my grandmother, who taught in East Palo Alto and has stories of her kind of work there and has just really, really inspired me and guides a lot of my work. And then of course my kids and their Fox outfits and some colleagues who really just keep me going in this work. But as Ruby mentioned in hers as well, these pathways are always so interesting, starting kind of in work babysitting. I was also on the strategic planning committee in my high school, which was Santa Cruz High. You can see the Cardinals there. Went on to undergrad work at University of Oregon. When I graduated, I worked as both an education specialist with the California Conservation Corps. And fun fact, I worked at a winery where I really developed a lot of the skills to kind of meet people where they are at. And then I was a school site director and then a director of partnerships and volunteer services at the Boys and Girls Clubs following my graduate work at Stanford, where I got a master's in policy organization and leadership studies. And I spent 6.5 years at the Boys and Girls Clubs. And I know one of the things that we really struggled with the most was kind of this, like, how do you bring people into our systems? How do you bring people into our programming? How do we inspire people to come and work for us? And then also, how do we use our space as a space to kind of propel and launch people into their next steps in their careers and keep them in education? And that's what I'm really excited to talk about today. Thrive has been another great space to do that and has helped us continue that conversation. My current role at Stanford, I'm a director of community engaged learning focused on education and really support the work that faculty and community partners do together. At the backbone of all of this, what kind of keeps me going right now is the Peloton app, even though I don't have a Peloton bike, using it to just kind of stay active and then kind of these decompressing moments. And so we thought it would be nice to kind of start our session today with a grounding moment. We know that through all of our work, especially in education, that there's the grinds and the emotional toll it takes serving our students, and it hasn't been any, it has never been greater than that as it is right now with COVID. So Kirsten's gonna just take a moment to take us through a little bit of a practice there, and then we'll move into our interactive session.
Hi, I am Kirsten. I'm the operations coordinator for Thrive. And I'm just gonna take you through, it's just a couple of minutes of a bit of a grounding exercise. And it's really simple, and feel free to keep your cameras off or turn your camera on if it is on, and skip it if it doesn't feel good. But if you'd like to, I would invite you to just close your eyes and take a deep breath. So I like to do in for 5 seconds, hold for 7, and then out for 8. And then as you're breathing, just slowly scan your body, starting from the head, if that feels good, for neutral sensations. So not focusing too much on anything that's ailing you right now or impeding on your comfort, just kind of neutral sensations like your seat, your bottom in your seat, your hands maybe on your desk or in your lap, and slowly go through your entire body from head to toe. And just take a little bit of time to notice what's there and look out for that neutrality. And then as you're doing so, I would also invite you to kind of make yourself a little bit more comfortable in your seat. So for me, that usually means straightening my back and not hunching over, maybe putting your feet flat on the ground. Moving through your body, noticing what that feels like. And then after completing that, if there's anything that jumped out to you or distracted you from that neutrality that you were looking for, anything that is impeding on your comfort, see if you can kind of create a little ball of warm energy and send it to that place. So for me, that's generally my neck and shoulders hunching over my computer all day. So I'm going to visualize a ball of warm light, this energy that sort of permeates that place in my body and soothes it. Once that light kind of hits my neck and shoulders, I immediately feel more relaxed. So anywhere in your body, sometimes it helps to put your hands together and kind of create a little bit of energy or warmth and send that to that place. So take your time, no rush as we're going through this. And then when it feels good, take another deep breath, open your eyes if they're closed. Just kind of come back to the present moment. And then when we're all ready, I'll hand it back to Paitra, and we'll go into our next activity.
Thank you so much, Kirsten. And I hope that was a little bit of a breath of fresh air in your moment today. So as we kind of go from this grounding moment, we've put together a kind of interactive space for us to be talking about kind of this pipeline to our organizations and potentially deeper into our organizations or kind of through our organizations to other spaces in education. And we're going to do that through a Miro board. So one of the things that we have found is that at least on my team, there's a lot of introverts, and wanting to talk out loud in a larger group is not always the top choice. But we wanted to give people a space to kind of share about the work that they're doing. And so in the chat, we're going to put a link to the Miro board. And for those of you who haven't used a Miro board, it's more or less like a virtual Post-it note space. So we've framed some questions, framed some ideas, things that we want to kind of explore together. But it also is malleable. So if we want to go in a different direction, we can do that. So we'll have about a half an hour to kind of dig into this space. We're going to start in discussing kind of what brings people into our field. What do we want, who do we want to inspire to come into our field? Have we done that in the past? We're going to move into a little bit of storytelling, kind of uncovering some stories of people that we, really maybe inspire us. And then we'll conclude with some brainstorming kind of around where we can take this work and support people kind of in recruitment and development. So to start, if you open up, I want to give a little walking tour of the Miro board. So I will share my screen first so you all can see a few key features in case you've never used Miro. So here I'm just going to write a hello. In the first pink box here, you can just click on it and type right into the Miro. Down at the bottom corner is this space to move around. And if you don't see that on your Miro board, you can click on the little map. Like there's a little map here. It's highlighted in blue when I clicked on it. And that will give you a space to navigate in. You can move your fingers, double finger on a trackpad to move around as well as you go through this. But mine has issues. If I move too far over to the left, it doesn't like it and it sometimes leaves the page. So I like to use this little navigation window on the far bottom right-hand side. You can also zoom in at the bottom or by spreading your fingers kind of across like you would on an iPad or something along those lines. So I'm going to zoom in here to our first question is, how do you want to bring, who do you want to bring into the field? So really thinking about kind of demographics, skills, the types of people that you're really trying to inspire to come into your work, and just doing some brainstorming there. I'm going to get rid of the hello. And people can go ahead and enter information there. I don't want to narrow it down too much into one category. You can also feel free to skip around. So how do you bring new people in? This is where I think it's going to be most interesting for us to share the ideas of how we're already doing this work and how we can inspire other people and collaborate. What ideas do you have? So what have you maybe not tried, but you're interested in trying? And then what resources do you need in order to execute on any of these sorts of things? So we're going to just take, we'll start with kind of 3 minutes, and then we'll kind of see how the energy is moving, and then we'll continue kind of based on that. So feel free to hop around anywhere on this black board here by my page shared so that people can see some of the responses, and I'm happy to zoom in if anybody wants us to zoom in. I'm curious if anybody just has any questions about what people have written. I'm curious to start us off about the 2022 Children's Summit coming up on the 18th and kind of the hopes there and what you're doing. Anybody?
Sure. So this is Marnie Rubin, and I put that in. I'm not sure if it's just Santa Clara County, but it was something that that I signed up for. It's from 9 to 1 this Friday, and just focuses on the different issues of children and families. So I could try to find the website for it. And they actually sent out a nice packet as well with lots of really great stuff for nonprofits and a data book for families and children. So anyway, that was, I thought, a really good resource to help meet people and build your network.
Yeah, that's great. If you do find it either now during this session or afterwards, we'd love to see it and share it with others.
Okay, great. I'll look for it.
And just as a reminder, if everybody could sign in on the in the chat, there is a link to our Google spreadsheet that has kind of our list of participants, and that way we can all stay connected. Are there other kind of things people are seeing here that they would love to kind of discuss or dig into? I'm assuming this might be from one of the Innovate team or from Jose maybe. I'm curious about the outreach through trainings and workshops. We ask our network and parent leaders to invite people they know to our meetings.
Yep, that was me. Yeah, we definitely, let me turn my camera so you can all see me. It's been tough doing outreach to the community in the past 2.5 years. But I think 2 years, sorry. Definitely they doing workshops helped us to have that outreach and to get to know new people in the community. And one of the things that we found out was that as we were doing these trainings, and we always had a section for questions, there was new topics that came up. And the parents were like, can we do another topic about this? And then that's how we started it for the trainings. Actually, today we have one about how to use Zoom, and we started doing about professional skills trainings, like how to use Google Docs, how to use Google Sheets, how to use Zoom. And I think those kind of trainings have helped us to do the outreach. And today we actually have one about Zoom. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, so kind of putting together different trainings that really meet the needs of the community that you're working with, and so that you're able to kind of fill those gaps and that sort of thing, it sounds like. So other areas people are interested in kind of digging into. Thank you, Marnie. You all can see that event that's organized by Santa Clara County, but is open to everybody. Appreciate that. I'm curious also about people who have left the workforce temporarily for some reason. So if someone wants to share a little bit about that idea.
Hi, everyone. That was me, Heather Hopkins. Whoops. Sometimes people have retired or have maybe stayed home with a child if they were able, and then want to return, but don't know what's out there and don't know how great some of these jobs can be. That's what I had in mind.
Awesome. Yeah, I think one of the challenges I always found was like, where do I even find them? So thinking about that, I know is a key topic. Any other questions or things here? And then we'll move on to kind of the next step. So next we wanted to just dig in a little bit into telling a story about a staff person or your own journey kind of into education. So thinking about kind of this pipeline and our own pathways. I shared a little bit about mine earlier in terms of, the work that I did in high school around kind of education equity, and then kind of building kind of on that as I've gone. I never thought I would end up in higher education. I was much more of a K-12 sort of person, but this is where I've ended up. Still working and serving the K-12 area, but my direct work with students is more often in the university level right now. And so just wanting to kind of capture those stories, and in essence to try and think about kind of what are the different pathways that we might be sending people on. And so let's just take 3 minutes to again write about that. I'm going to actually set my timer this time. And this will also provide us a little chance to get to know each other. So I wanted to just take a moment to kind of share about an experience that I had when we were running program at the Boys and Girls Clubs, and I was working with our volunteer programming as well as our summer programming. And what we did was we really were thinking about kind of the gaps in learning and the opportunities for our mentors, which are what we called our after school program staff. that, many of them were in community college, many of them were interested in teaching down the road or in education in some form. Some were just on breaks from, college back for the summer and wanted to do, to be of support and interested in working with youth. And so what we kind of layered on though was because we realized that they needed some scaffolding in teaching, that they didn't necessarily have all the best practices in classroom management. That was often something our teachers who were in the classrooms during the academic year really struggled with watching. And so we designed a program that supported, there were credentialed staff in the morning with our after school program staff and volunteers. So there was this kind of tiered level of support in this space where our teachers were getting the practice of being mentors. The after school program mentors were also getting practice of mentoring the typically high school volunteers. Both the volunteers and the after school program staff really have this opportunity to watch a credentialed professional teacher in the classroom with classroom management strategies and that sort of thing. But in reverse, our teachers also got the experience of seeing our after school program staff and the relationships that they have with our youth and how they develop those relationships. And so it's really becomes this kind of reciprocal learning space where everyone's learning something different, but they're all building on the skills together. They also developed a kind of leadership program for high school students kind of interested in education. So they got to learn about different career paths, got to learn about different pathways kind of into education and also further develop their skills kind of as educators in these spaces. And so really kind of thinking about kind of how to be that foundation to propel people into education fields and give that foundation of kind of understanding the challenges that that we face in these roles, hopefully not fully scaring them off, which can be easy to do. And so as we think about kind of this next piece, we wanted to kind of provide a space for us to talk about what could we collectively do to support recruitment and development. So are there ways that we as a collective group here could really support each other in that recruitment process? Yes, there's a little bit of competition potentially sometimes between our roles, but also sometimes it's about, somebody who's working with elementary age kids who really wants to get into early childhood development, or maybe it's somebody who's in early childhood development and wants kind of opportunities to get into administrative sort of work within our organizations. And so we have this Miro board. We are welcome to use it. I also want to, given that we have 5 or 10 minutes left, want to open it up to see if there's anything that anybody wants to share. I've heard that there are some experts here in kind of recruitment and development. And so if you have any ideas or things that you're doing that you want to share with the group, we'd love to open this up for that conversation, or for people to pose any questions that they want to have answered by the collective. All right. So just as people kind of wrap up their ideas here, it looks like there's some great ideas around social justice training and staff engagement and the mission, getting staff engagement in the mission. Sorry, I couldn't quite see all of it. Providing professional development sessions to staff members, for example, hiring a consultant, pinging the community if there are any other folks who want to buy into the PD to help offset costs while meeting their PD needs. So collectively working together to do some PD for staff on the ground, or even, we've talked about that in terms of the roles with finance, or roles that you might have one person on your team, but want to support them more collectively, doing that across the board at through Thrive and other ventures in the area. want to thank you all for bearing with us as we try something new and see how it went. And I want to hand it back over to Petra to kind of close us out. Kimberly, thank you so much.
Thank you, Paitra. That was really inspiring and a really cool way to have a session. Our next session will be actually the candidate forum. We're not going to have a specific session in April because we really want everyone to come to the candidate forum and to contribute questions. So if you want to contribute questions to it, please just email me or Marnie. And we will be sending out in our follow-up the date of the event. And then we will meet again at our regularly scheduled time in May. So thank you all so much for coming. And this huge thanks to Paitra for really hosting this.
Thank you all, and please be in touch.